To begin, can you introduce yourself and share what motivated you to run for Orange County Commissioner in District 7?
Well, my name is Vicki Vargo, and I live in Rosemont on what used to be the 9th tee of the golf course, and my house faces east-west. My front door faces Eatonville, and my back door faces Pine Hills and Orla Vista. And I'm running because I saw who the candidates were, and I was frustrated because I'm a former Orlando City Commissioner, and I know how to get things done. I'm very grassroots, and when I saw that the people running had never, all except for one, had never even attended a Pine Hills community meeting, had never helped with a community cleanup, absolutely nothing, I said, oh no, you're not going to represent me, you're not going to represent Rosemont, you're not going to represent College Park, and you're not going to represent Pine Hills. And the reason why I know that they haven't been involved is 4 years ago, if you remember, when that little girl and that newscaster were murdered, I decided that I couldn't stand it anymore. And that's when, because Rosemont is in the city of Orlando, and that's when I kind of jumped over the line to unincorporated Pine Hills and said, I got to find out what's going on. So that is when I joined the Pine Hills Community Council and started working with the council and working with the neighborhoods and started cleaning up the neighborhoods. So I know who's been involved and who hasn't, and the people running haven't been involved. And if you haven't been involved in community, you shouldn't be running for city or county commissioner.
What do you see as the most pressing issues currently facing District 7 residents?
Currently, my number one priority is public safety, and the most pressing issue is the number of 12 to 17-year-old boys who are picking up guns and committing murder. So I went to a meeting with State Attorney Monique Worrell. She's having meetings about the missing middle, and it is alarming. The zip code 32808, which is my zip code, which I have lived in for 30 years, has by far the most 12 to 17-year-olds picking up guns and committing murder. And they end up in her office, and she doesn't have a lot of choices. She can either send them to juvenile detention, where they can serve between 18 to 36 months, and then they get out, as in her words, she says, then they walk around with a badge of honor because they've actually gotten away with committing murder. Her only other choice is to send these 12 to 17-year-olds with no priors to jail for life. Jail for life. And to me, that is a crisis. So that is my number one priority, is to get some recreation and do whatever I can to give these young boys alternatives to what they're doing.
Affordable housing continues to be a major concern in Orange County. What policies or approaches would you support to help increase affordability and access for residents?
Well, that's a very good question, because there's a lot of people who especially out east, on the east side of the county and other places, where they want to stop development. They don't want any development. Well, affordability is based on supply and demand. So the less supply you have, the higher the prices go up. So I think that we need to build. I think that we also need to bring back townhome products, because especially for people who are working in the service industry, they may or may not be able to afford a standalone home, but they could afford, a condominium or a townhomes, and I just don't see that product being built. And I would like to provide incentives for those products to be built.
Do you believe the county should balance continued growth and development while ensuring long-term residents are not displaced by rising costs?
Well, read that question again.
How do you believe the county should balance continued growth and development while ensuring long-term residents are not displaced by rising costs?
Well, that's a very good question. And let's just take into consideration Paramore. So the city of Orlando has big plans for Paramore, but what they're doing in the process is moving out long-term residents. So we need to be very careful as we develop and as we have infill develop. So when you talk about smart growth, what they're talking about then is coming into existing neighborhoods, tearing down homes because there's no green space, everything's already built out, and then displacing who's there and building a newer and better product, which may or may not be affordable. And the thing that concerns me is I've heard that some of the incentives that are being given only require that the property be affordable for 30 years. 30 years is nothing when you look at our community as a whole. I mean, 30 years is not a long time. So I'm opposed to giving incentives to build affordable housing and then limiting it to 30 years. If we're going to give incentives, it needs to be forever and not just for 30 years.
Infrastructure is a key concern in growing regions. What are your top priorities when it comes to improving roads, transportation, and utilities in District 7?
Well, I don't want to spend all my time talking about Pine Hills, but that just seems to be the most needy neighborhood in District 7. So I'm very concerned about District 7 because District 7 is in the middle. So there's no growth going on. So nothing new is happening. So we have to make things happen. So Pine Hills has 2 zip codes, and if you include Orla Vista, that's 3, 2 zip codes, 85,000 people, and all the way from Clarkona-Ocoee Road down to Barnett Park on Colonial Drive. There are no parks. There's no tot lots. There's no playgrounds. There's nothing. No soccer fields. There's nothing. So I want sustainable communities. I do not want District 7 to be a community or a district with the haves, such as Maitland, College Park, and Rosemont to a certain extent, because I did a good job in Rosemont, and they have a lot of community assets in Rosemont. And West Orange County, because the district goes out to Gotha and Ocoee. And the have-nots. So right now, the have-not neighborhoods are Pine Hills and Orla Vista. They've been tremendously underserved. And I wonder if it's in part because some of their commissioners have worked part-time. So I'm hearing that some of the candidates, or at least some of the candidates, have stated themselves that they intend to hold another job while serving as our District 7 commissioner. There is no way anyone can serve District 7 working part-time. There are just too many needs. I mean, we have 10,000 Haitians on TPS in Pine Hills. The need is tremendous. At Rolling Hills Elementary, 1/2 of the kindergarten class came in Haitians speaking Creole. They couldn't speak English. 1/2 of the kindergarten class. There's tremendous needs, and there's no way anyone can work part-time and serve as this commissioner.
Green space preservation is important to many residents. How would you approach protecting parks, natural areas, and open spaces while still accommodating growth and development?
Well, that's very interesting. So this has me concerned. So I actually went through the Orange County agenda for the first half of 2025. Orange County is spending tremendous amount of money buying land in East Orange County for conservation, buying land down by Horizon West for conservation, and then, for example, in Pine Hills, They have literally fenced off the lakes. Fenced them off. Now, where else in Orange County have they fenced off the lakes? It is absolutely insane. So I grew up in Michigan, on Lake Michigan, and so I have a tremendous amount of respect for our natural resources. So I want to bring forth the natural resources throughout District 7 and have an opportunity for everyone to enjoy them and make sure that there's more along the way. And I'm a big tree hugger, by the way. So in District 7, in, again, the same area that I've been kind of focusing on in Pine Hills and Orla Vista, the air quality is terrible, terrible air quality. Well, why is that? Because they don't have any trees. There's no trees in these neighborhoods. So when I was first moved to Rosemont as a new resident, being from Michigan, which has a lot of trees in the state of Michigan, I was like, there was no trees, hardly. And I thought, oh no, I can't, I'm gonna live here, I'm on the golf course, you know, I gotta have trees. So we and some neighbors got together with Green Up Orlando, and we planted 300 trees around Lake Orlando and around the neighborhood. So I have already been approached by one of Orange County's planners, and one of the things he's asked me was about some of my priorities, and one of the things I mentioned was trees. I want trees, because, and this kind of goes to the crime issue as well. So in these neighborhoods where there's no trees, you can't even go for a walk in the summer. I mean, if you get in an argument with somebody, you can't even go for a walk to blow off steam. I mean, it's just too hot. The air quality is bad. There's no place to get any exercise to kind of blow off steam. It's just really, really terrible. So I don't want District 7 that's in the middle to lose out to all this money going to East Orange County for preservation, Horizon West for preservation. I want to improve District 7 air quality and recreation space, make all the lakes available to residents and not fence them off. That's going to be a big priority for me.
County services such as permitting, waste management, and access to public resources directly affect residents' daily lives. What improvements would you prioritize in these areas?
Well, that's a big one for me, because I've worked for 4 years in the neighborhoods, in 32808 in particular. I learned the other day that Pine Hills has 800 evictions a month. 800 a month. So you drive down the streets and you see these belongings all over the road, all over the place, and it's just looks terrible. And I do not like our current waste management company, because they don't pick everything up at once. They come up and they'll pick up part of it, and then next week they'll come out and pick up another part. Well, the poor neighborhood is stuck looking at this eviction mess. So I want to implement an ordinance requiring landlords to rent a container. If you're going to do an eviction, then rent a container, put all those belongings in the container so that you don't hurt the property values of the entire neighborhood with your tenant's stuff thrown at the curb, because that's what it does. It hurts property values. And you know, I hear all the time from people that Pine Hills is in between Winter Garden and College Park. I mean, it's prime real estate. I call it Prime Hills. That's what I tell people. Because don't use the C word with me. It's prime real estate. You're in between Winter Garden, College Park, the 414, and the 408. This is prime real estate. So we just have to get the neighborhoods put together. But solid waste is a very big problem, as well as code enforcement. So code enforcement does a terrible job. They don't have enough people, and that's something I want to address as well.
How would you ensure that county services are efficient, accessible, and responsive to the needs of all District 7 residents?
Well, I'm very hands-on. So I drive around my district. So not much gets past me. So I'll give you an example. When the hurricanes came through, you might not recall, but there was like 3 of them in a row, Charlie, Francis, and another one. I literally drove my district, and the only place where there was electricity was City Hall, because city government gets their services first. So I would drive my district, and then I would go to City Hall, then I would send messages to all the directors in public works for the various departments. And my district came up first. So I'm a very hands-on commissioner, and we need to work on some things, but I'm very persistent. I have a reputation for being persistent.
How do you plan to engage with residents and community stakeholders throughout District 7 to ensure their voices are heard in county decision making?
Well, that is very important. So, I'm a little bit older, so I will admit, social media isn't necessarily, my top priority as far as communicating, although I'm getting better at it. But a lot of seniors don't use social media anyway. They don't use them. I mean, people who are 70 and 80 years old, and I don't want them left out in the cold. So when I was an Orlando City Commissioner, I used to send postcards to people, asking them for their opinion, or asking, what they needed, or when, again, the hurricanes came through, I made a plea to the entire district. Please, if you have any seniors living near you, especially shut-ins, I'm very concerned about seniors who are shut-ins. Please check on them to make sure that they have what they need for the hurricane. So I want to engage more interaction, at the neighborhood level with neighbors to neighbors. But I'm going to be doing some snail mail. I'm not just going to rely on social media, because I'm concerned that we miss the vulnerable seniors who don't know how to use it. Plus, I still intend to go door to door like I am now. I'm going to have my list, and I'm going to go door to door and continue to stay in touch with the public that way. So if you live in District 7, don't be surprised if Vicki Vargo, as your commissioner, knocks on your door and says, "Hey, how you doing?" Because that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be checking on people.
If elected, what would success look like for you after your first term as Orange County Commissioner?
To bring down the statistics on the 12 to 17-year-olds with no priors committing murder, that's huge. To me, that is a crisis. That is my #1 priority. And the second is to bring parks, green space, and trees, to the community. So it feels like a place. So it feels like a neighborhood, and not just a house where you live, but it's some place where you feel connected. A place where you feel like you can go outside and go for a jog, go outside and go for a bicycle ride. So I want clean, safe, sustainable neighborhoods. And I want to help those youth that are finding themselves in very serious trouble.